and I'm glad you're saying this. And I one of the things I appreciate about your content is you do say stuff like that, right? Is and I agree with you. Like you had said, gang banging in general is it's a child's game, right? In the sense of it is adolescent behavior, right? It's predominantly young men running around the neighborhood, um, doing what they do, and that doesn't mean it's not serious, and that doesn't, I'm not trying to put anybody down, but it is the behaviors of young adolescent men, right? And most people grow out of that behavior, right? Most people, they got a kid on the way, or they get a job, or they're like, man, I'm probably going to graduate high school, whatever it may be. Something happens in their life, or they just, do a little juvenile time and come home like, man, that wasn't really cool, and I'm about to be 8, and
Right.
this
Right.
doesn't sound fun anymore. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
actually didn't like
does.
it anymore.
Some people catch on faster than
Right,
others. Some
right, and
people got to bump their head a few more times.
sure, and I think we both bump our head people, right? So I get that, and that's what I mean. I'm not. This is not putting anybody down, but it is not unusual to come up in the neighborhood and be with all the activities and be committed with the whole 9 yards. And as you get older, you start to think about other things. You start to have other priorities. That doesn't mean you're betraying some love for your community, or
Right.
you are turning your back on your friends. It means, hey, bro, I'm now 20 years old, and I'm not going to behave the way I was at 15. Because in any other walk of life, if you have a 20-year-old who acts like he's 15, you're like, bro, you're game goofy. Like, what's wrong with you? You something is wrong with you. You haven't matured at all. If
Right.
you're 30 and you still dress and behave the same way that you did when you were 15, bro, something's wrong with you. And a lot of times you'll see that those people, I don't know if this is true for you, but what I've noticed, like when I came home from prison, I seen older cats, their whole peer group was teenagers.
I
And I'm
was just
like,
about, and
bro,
look,
how
I
you
was just
40
about
years
to say,
old and
those are the
everybody you
ones
kick
who
with?
get glorified and put on a
Right.
pedestal because they still, the youngsters can relate to you because you have a mind like them.
Right.
I remember when I was
But
20,
they weren't around when you were young, because you
right,
probably weren't like that when you were their age.
right,
And so now they're like, oh, that's the big homie because he's 40. But when he was 15, he was tucked in the house, or he was over here tucking tail. And then
right,
everybody went to prison or matured or got out the lifestyle. They're the only weirdos left right there. And so now they get to celebrate. I've been that guy forever. And these teenagers don't know any better.
right. And that's the crazy part because like I was saying, when I was 21, 22, I remember specific, I don't know who I was talking to, but I remember telling somebody I don't ever see myself not being active. I don't ever see myself not like out here tripping, trying to put in work.
Right.
Just a few years later, my mentality changed. Not to say it like that. Like by the time I was like 27, I was chilling. I was still on some bullshit.
Right.
I still, if my name and my number was called, I was still
Right.
pulling up. But I had already started to think about it internally. Now, by this time, I got a son on the way too.
Right.
So I'm already starting to think like, hold on, I got to maneuver a little different out here.
Right.
You can't do the same shit forever. So some of these young dudes, like I have zero desire to go to the hood and hang out every day. When I wake up, going to the hood and hanging out is never on my agenda.
Right. Right.
The homies will have to call me and be like, hey,
Right.
bro, we over here, pull up.
Right.
And depending on who it is and what I got going on, then I'll
Right.
go. But I don't
Right.
just wake
It's
up
like
and
an
hit
event.
the
It's a
park.
planned.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I don't wake up and just go. The last time I did that every day was during the pandemic. I wasn't working. A lot of
Right.
people wasn't working. We was
Right.
hanging out every day. Hey, man, big dice games at the
Right.
park, whatever. There's nothing going on.
Right.
You know. But besides that, nah, that's not what I do. For what? You want
Right.
me to come and sit around and talk nonsense with you niggas all day? Y'all
Right.
not talking about how to get further in life. And like I said, I don't want to knock that because I came from that.
Right.
But you got to understand my position. I understand where y'all coming from because I was there. You don't
Right.
understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
A lot of you niggas don't got kids. And if some of y'all do, y'all young, y'all got kids, some of y'all not taking care of them because you still in and out and you still in this.
Mhm.
But once you get out of that, everybody real with they self is going to look back and be like, Hoodie was right. That was a real big homie telling us that.
And that's the thing is run around at 15 being a knucklehead to some extent, right? I'm not condoning any particular behaviors, but to some extent, that's what you're supposed to do, right? It's you're 15, you're a knucklehead. most 15s everywhere in the country are knuckleheads in some form or fashion, right? So it's not knocking that, but I do knock the 25-year-old that's being right. And so it's not that one is it almost becomes a thing of like, well, you're wrong or you're wrong. We could both be right. You're acting up because you're a teenager with no responsibility that's acting up and you ain't learned nothing and you're not going to hear nothing, and that's fine. It's, do you, but don't hold me to that standard. I'm not 15, homie. Right? And I'm not wrong for what I'm doing either. And then as you get older, obviously, you know, stuff changes even more. But I've got, you know, there's 50-year-old dudes that's like, man, I would love to share my story on the platform, right? School. Like I watch your channel and you know, they're grandparents, you know, twice over, right? And man, I've been through that. I've been out since, you know, 85 and all the stuff I've seen. I love to share some of my experiences, not glorifying, not nothing else, but they're like, nah, bro, but you know, the hood got a rule about folks getting on YouTube, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I respect it. I'm not, I chuckle because I'm like, man, that's crazy because I guarantee those are young people, right? But you can't get on YouTube. But you're gonna hold this dude to that standard, right?
But
When
look,
he's
see,
50.
that's one of those. That's not necessarily a rule that we have. There is a lot of older Crips and Bloods who just don't want to be on camera because that's them.
They do right.
Not, yeah, it's not an actual rule for us, but that's a rule that obviously that's not our politics, but it's just a rule I don't agree with. Like, why, as long as somebody ain't talking about stuff that they shouldn't be talking about, why somebody can tell their story and not be looked at weird? Like, what are you saying about yourself and your journey that is doing anything to anybody else's future or what they got going? Nothing. So that's one of those rules that I just be like, that's a dinosaur mentality.
Right.
Like you gotta get with the times, homie. It's 2023. And y'all probably will eventually, and I don't mean you,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
They probably will in the future see, like, you know what? Because it's already things change.
Right.
Obviously, the North and the South is on better terms than they was years ago.
Right.
So I don't understand why, because I'll be wanting to hear more stories from y'all too, but nobody wants to speak. You know, I would love to have somebody on my channel that he might be 25 and just got out, and you know what I mean, without him getting in trouble.
Right.
For talking about his experience. You know, it's people all the time. You should get somebody from here. You should get somebody from there. I can't force nobody to get on here who is in fear of getting on my channel because of the consequences.
Right. That's the thing is I got people in the comments all the time, folks I've done time with, folks that know me from the streets and everything else, right? But they won't jump on camera, right? And I think part of it for kind of the more restrictive prison politics, right? I think part of it is because you have some folks that come on YouTube that have histories with these organizations and you know, flipped and ratted and what, you know, so you have some folks that obviously would be viewed as unsavory, right? Who have then platform, right? But there's a lot of folks that don't necessarily have that background that have those platforms too, and I think it's become a knee-jerk thing of just stay off of YouTube because YouTube is full of podcasters and all these podcasters are this way. And I think that's, like you said, it's starting to change a little bit, but also because some of us, and I've done this before, you know, as well, you know, there's a real control factor. And so if you don't toe the company line, like I don't have a problem getting on YouTube and being critical of organizations, right? I don't wake up for ways to just come on and embarrass them, but there's some weird shit happens. And if weird shit happens, I'm going to say this seems like some weird shit. If a situation happens, then you know the video I dropped today, right? Dude got blasted in Slims Valley. He was in a wheelchair, and they sent 2 people on him. I would hate to have my number called for that move, right? Like, I mean, you go but dude's in a wheelchair. All you gotta do is push him over. He can't move.
Wheelchair.
And blasted him, took his life, right? But that dude had left a medical facility. He was at a medical facility before he went to Slims Valley. And if you go to that medical facility, you're trapped. You know, so prison politics are what they are. I don't fault folks for doing what they do because that's the environment.
I think I heard you talk about that. I just
dropped that video this morning.
Nah. I didn't see that
Oh,
thing. I could have sworn somebody was talking about somebody who was at a medical facility, and the dude had his paperwork and everything and was showing that he was good, but since he was on that yard, he was
yeah.
deemed no good. And that's the shit that I'm talking about. Stuff like that just seem a little petty and childish to me. Like, I don't know, man.
But
I
see,
feel like
those politics are gonna be cutthroat, right? Like North and South politics behind the wall. I don't know. They're selectively cutthroat. But so when stuff like that happens, I don't have a problem speaking on it. I'll air it out, right? And of course, then there's already that they don't want. Well, you can say my name, don't even mention my business. Okay, but you could tattoo your organization on your forehead and walk around with an entourage. Like you're not being discreet, homie. Uh, so that plays into it too for the North and South of why, because if they wind up getting caught up, and you know, same thing like that whole thing of the rules in the streets are one thing, but you go to prison, it's a different. It, people don't want that smoke in there, right? But I think it's changing a little bit. Uh, and either way, there's a broader audience. The reality is everybody is watching our channel, whether folks will admit it or not admit it or like it or come on the camera or whatever else. Um, the reach is there, so the message still gets out there,
right.
whether people are willing to admit that they're listening to it or not, right? Uh,
I got a quick question.
sure.
What's the difference between somebody being like an artist and being from one of these factions, and they do an interview because they're artists?
Right.
You're still on camera.
Mm-hmm. That's
If they not on there saying nothing wrong and talking about shit they be talking about, uh, why can't you do that without being a rap artist? Because if you're a rapper from one of them factions, they get to do interviews.
off top. Yeah, the more
So why
interviews, the better.
can't you not be a rapper and do an interview, but just not mention none of that stuff?
Right. Oh, and you know it's funny because you'll see some artists that are very vocal about who they are and what they represent and the whole 9 yards in their music. They'll do an interview,
And they don't
and
want
when
to
they're asked about it, they're like, "Well, I don't do like I went to Catholic school as a kid. I don't know nothing about nothing. I just but I with bandanas on them, looking like a fool. To be honest, I think the difference is when they go and they make this music and they claim where they're from, they're giving a cut off the top. That's just the reality. It's not a secret.
right.
So that's profitable for the organizations, right? Is because their artistry, they make money, but somebody else is making money too every time they talk about what they talk about. So
Right.
there's a profit in that, and they're tightly controlled in what they can say. I'm aware of artists that, and I won't put them out there, but artists that are popping from Northern California that have been fined for certain lyrics in their songs. Like they're rapping and they say something, and hold on, I'm gonna need you, and there goes 10 racks, right? So they're closely monitored and controlled. For as podcasters, right? Like myself, I've been out of prison since December 9th, 2005. I run my own program. I have since I've been home, and so I may talk to various people, but I do my own thing. I've been doing my own thing, right? And so it's unregulated. It's unregulated, and I don't pay nobody for nothing. This is my own thing. So I think it's the lack of control that makes the difference. The lack of control and the lack of resources, right? And I on a just a common sense level, I don't think there's a difference. I think there's definitely hypocrisy, but I think that's what fuels the hypocrisy is the finances behind it.
Right.
Because we live in a day and age.
How it's justified.
Yeah, we live in a day and age where, in large part, money matters most. And I know there's folks that'll disagree, but when it comes to this stuff, it's about the money, and you can do just about anything if you can afford it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is one of my criticisms, but it is what it is. People gonna do what they do. But look, I know it's a weekend, man. I appreciate spending the time and us having this conversation. I don't know what channel we'll put this on or how we'll figure that out. But I definitely encourage anybody that subscribed to the Homie Hangout, man, check out Hoodie from the Hood. I've been a fan of your channel since we had like a couple hundred subscribers, man, and you're like 1,100 short of me. So, but you've earned it. You've really earned it, man, and you put out good content.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a journey. I've been grinding. I'm Still grinding. I'm gonna keep on going. Just getting started, man.
Yeah.
Really, I feel like the majority of people still don't know who I am, even though my channel got over 3 million views altogether. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people still sleeping on me and they sleeping on Dago. So I'm not gonna be satisfied until we mentioned right next to everybody else, and that's what I'm.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. All right, babe. We're gonna call it a wrap, but you enjoy your weekend. Unless there's anything else you wanted to say.
I can't think of it off top, but we definitely gonna do this again. So
yeah, I look forward to it. All
right, and you gotta teach me how to work this little StreamYard thing, man, so I can start, bring more people on.
Yeah, that's easy. I'll walk you through it, no problem.
All right, man. Tell Nate, man. I don't know what happened, but tell him, salute. That's my guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shout out Nate Dog 916. If you guys aren't subscribed to his channel, go do that over there as well.
All right,
homie. All right, bro. We'll catch up with you later.